Good morning. Welcome to Anita Talks History and Genealogy. It is September the 15th, 2025, and I mention that date because on September the 10th, 2025, a spokesperson for the Republican Party's far right, Charlie Kirk, was shot and killed in Utah on a college campus while he was speaking to college students. And today we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk, his passing, and what is going on in the wake of his murder. He was not assassinated, he was murdered. He was killed by one of his own because he was not far right enough. And that's my opinion. And this is Anita Talks History and Genealogy. And I'd like to welcome everyone. And please like, subscribe, share, and comment. The reason that I'm talking about Charlie Kirk is that everything is connected. It's not, it's separate from everything that has gone on in the history of this country. It is the same old playbook. And we, as people of color, Afro-Indigenous, we're sick of it. We're not going to play with these silly games with these silly people. And the whole point, of them continuing to say that Charlie Kirk was killed by a left-wing radical trans person is to incite their base into a civil war, because Donald Trump cannot stay in power unless there is a civil war. So he has been trying to bait us as he's been trying to bait people in cities, predominantly African American cities, into a civil war by sending the National Guard in, trying to send in the military, doing whatever he can to get us so enraged that we'll go into a civil war and he can declare martial law. And where does Charlie Kirk fit into all of that? God rest his soul. Charlie Kirk is gone. He is deceased. And Trump is trying to use his memory, his killing, and the things that he said to continue on the same trajectory he has been on, since the first time he was president. And this is my opinion. This is how I see it. And I still am entitled, just like the rest of us so-called citizens are entitled to our opinions. And the thing about it is this, that Charlie Kirk was a spokesperson for Truth Social, who was sponsored. Most of their money was coming from the alt-right. And he was speaking on their talking points. And he was safe as long as he stayed on those talking points. And a couple of terms that came up for me was race baiting. He did a lot of that, speaking about single parent homes, and those are only African American households. That's why we're behind. Speaking about against DEI, as if we as African Americans were the ones benefiting from it. Most of us did not benefit from DEI, and a lot of us did not benefit from affirmative action. The predominant group that benefited from that was white women. Okay? It freed them from, being stuck in their kitchens. It helped them a lot. So we don't really miss the DEI thing. we didn't benefit that greatly from affirmative action. And in fact, these corporations were more than glad to get rid of us Trump, uh, once the Supreme Court, ruled on it. They were firing us folks right and left. And even when we were in those positions, those few positions, they continued to try to humiliate us and make us feel inferior. We had schools before these poor whites had schools. We've always, when we had the opportunity, wanted to read and write because we knew that in order to be free, we had to be educated. We had to know that the things that they were telling us about ourselves were lies. And that is why we have always been educated in churches. We went to church, I went to church as a child, and that's where I learned how to read and write, read the scriptures, and listening to, grown folks talk and learning from our people. And so that the difference is that they were telling us we were, God's children. They were not telling us, that we were God's chosen, like the Europeans tell themselves. God told them to enslave indigenous people all over the world. That they say that God told them in their Bible to told black people to serve their masters, and that these white people were their masters. Well, they didn't just do it in Africa. They did it in Australia. They did it wherever indigenous people are. They went there as God's chosen people. And the reason I know that is that they took their Bibles. They sent their missionaries. Okay? Anyway, so for Charlie Kirk to be a part of Truth Social and use religion as a tool and, as a part of his toolbox, that's not nothing new. They always do that. They always do that. And the thing about it is that, we weren't bothering him. We let him do that. He was trying to recruit young white people into the Trump camp. And he was good at his job. They were paying him to do it. But he's gone. So now what does Trump do? Try to force us to memorialize Charlie Kirk, a spokesperson who was being paid by Truth Social, by the alt-right. So and the goal is for those who don't know better, the maggots and others of us. He's trying to pass laws that will make us bow down to his wishes, to take away our rights to vote. He's already taken away taken away books from schools teaching on our history. So he wants to strip away everything from us, from black and brown people. Now think about it. He's already deported a lot of brown people out of the country, and black people too. Okay? So what does you think Trump's plans are for us? For our children, for our young people. I'm older. I think his plans are to enslave them, to have them working on those farms where because the white farmers are not going to work on their own farms. And they've sent all the Mexicans, the South Americans who were working those farms. They are on the run. They're being deported. And we need to wake up to the fact that Trump is trying to roll us back to slavery, to put us in a position where we are forced to work to benefit this white majority that is quickly becoming a minority, and this is why they're panicking. They're becoming a minority. But to bring back slavery, that's what he's doing. And one of the methods he's doing, the reason he's going into these cities is to start arresting young black men, giving them an arrest record, and then telling them that, oh, you can get, you can get out, or either while you're in prison or jail, you have to work on these farms, sending them to farms to work. That is what they're in their twisted, sick minds. That is what they are envisioning, rolling us back to slavery. And my question is, are you going to let them do that? Because they are paying some of us to come on and tell other of us how we should feel about Charlie Kirk being killed when he was killed by one of his own. He was not killed by one of us. We didn't like what Charlie Kirk was saying, but we certainly weren't attacking him or trying to kill him. You know, he's not the only one out there saying that. And it's like we're minding our own business, taking care of our business and ourselves. And you all, these racists, keep coming up to where we are and trying to start trouble because you're taking our kindness for weakness. We're not weak, okay? So, and there's a couple of cliches that came up, like screaming fire in a crowded theater. That was against the law, dog whistling. Trump does that a lot. He's dog whistling to his supporters, to the MAGA people, and he comes up with lies, and then when you call him on them the next day or so, he gets defensive. He never backtracks. He does not apologize, and he is about as wrong as 2 left feet, And the other thing that comes to mind is how he talks about us being inferior when his grandfather was nothing but a pimp. Seriously, his grandfather was running prostitutes up in Alaska. What are you talking about? We're inferior. None of my grandfathers did anything like that. They were farmers. They worked. And I'm Trump's age, so I can say that. It wasn't that long ago. He's an immigrant. His wives are immigrant. His children were born to immigrants. And yet, they gave him the presidency because he's a useful idiot, just like Charlie Kirk was. And when they use him up, they will move it. He'll be moved out too, because he's a spokesperson for the racist, for the Zionist. I'm sorry. That's what Trump is. He is a spokesperson for the alt-right, for the Zionists, for the racists. Come on, people, think. And don't let him continue to harass you, to continue to come at you like he's an authority. He is not an authority. Ask him for the Epstein files and see what he says. Watch his reaction. Heck, you can't even ask him for his college transcripts. But we saw Obama's college transcripts. But he wants to say Obama and us are inferior to him. But it's not about Charlie Kirk anymore. He's gone. He's met his maker, and he will be judged by his actions. And that is what we need to remember. Thank you. Take care and have a good